Welcome to another episode of Sounds Reasonable. I'm your host, Dr. Brad, and I'm joined in the production of our weekly show by Tim and Tate. We're all members of the skeptics community, and Tim and I are also members of the free thought community. Our Sounds Reasonable website can be found on Facebook. Do you experience frequent irrational thoughts? A pervasive belief in a divine skydance, an insatiable urge to read horoscopes, perform spells, speak in tongues, or pray? Fortunately, you are now listening to the cure for these ailments. Sounds Reasonable. This show is dedicated to bringing you, the listener, the latest news in free thought, science, logic and reason, and politics and religion. And of course, we encourage you to share your thoughts with us after each episode by posting comments and asking questions on our Facebook page. What is free thought? What does it mean to be a free thinker? The dictionary definition is a person who forms opinions about religion based on reason, independent of tradition, authority, or established belief. Here's Christopher Hitchens' working definition. Our belief is not a belief. Our principles are not a faith. We do not rely solely upon science and reason because these are necessary rather than sufficient factors, but we distrust anything that contradicts science or outrages reason. We may differ on many things, but what we respect is free inquiry, open-mindedness, and the pursuit of ideas for their own sake. Now, before we go to science news this week, I have an item I want to mention, and I tried to shrink the background so the whole thing was going to be visible, but I just could not figure out how to do it. So I've got a photo of James Randi behind me, and one of his famous phrases, which is, "No amount of belief makes something true." Now, the reason I have that here is that science, skepticism, and reason lost a great champion this past week. James Randi passed away. Known professionally as the Amazing Randi, he dedicated his life to exposing seers who did not see, healers who did not heal, and many others. My personal favorite was when the charlatan Uri Geller, a so-called spoon bender, was booked to do a show on Johnny Carson. Randi had told Carson to have a duplicate set of props identical to Geller's ready so that he could switch them on him right before his act. Of course, none of Geller's psychic tricks worked. It was hilarious. And that's you can view that on YouTube, by the way, if you haven't seen that particular thing. But it's Uri, U-R-I, and then Geller, G-E-L-L-E-R, and Johnny Carson. If you Google that, it'll come right up. It was hilarious, like I said. So James Randi, you truly were amazing, and you will be sorely missed. We will now move on to our science news segment. And remember that the scientific mind is one that allows its perceptions of reality to be constrained by good evidence and good argument. Now, when I was growing up in the 1960s and early 70s, I was an avid reader of the Tom Swift science fiction books. And one of my favorites was titled Tom Swift and the Asteroid Pirates. So, Tim, could you show that first figure, please?
You bet.
So there's the cover of the book, of course, and the author of the Tom Swift series of that particular series was Victor Appleton II. His father was actually the author of the very first Tom Swift series book. Thank you, Tim. It now looks like this has become reality. We are now able to directly sample the surface of asteroids. The science news story I'm going to relay today comes from NBC News, October 20th of this year, and was written by Denise Chow, and is titled, NASA Makes History with Sample of Asteroid Soil. That's one small scoop for humanity. NASA made history Tuesday after a spacecraft successfully collected samples from the surface of an asteroid during a carefully orchestrated hours-long maneuver in orbit. After spending nearly 2 years circling the near-Earth asteroid Bennu, NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft used its robotic arm to gather pieces of the space rock that will subsequently be sent to Earth for study. The event marks an important milestone for NASA. It's the first time the agency has gathered samples from an asteroid in space. We did it, proclaims Dante Loretta, the principal investigator for the OSIRIS-REx mission, said during NASA's live broadcast of the event. We've tagged the surface of the asteroid. So Tim, if we could show that video of that actually happening, it's pretty cool.
Got a commercial. Sorry. I thought I had that out of there.
We'll have to send Lexus.
I'm going to show you a series of images taken by the SAMCAM. This is about twice the frame rate, so we're coming in a little bit faster here. And I'm just going to let that play out. I'm going to let you appreciate it one more time as we go through. And then we've got some analysis that we can perform about what happened here. Maybe one more time. It's just so cool. This is a full-scale model of the TAG-SAM head. And so this is what's at the end of that long robotic arm. You can see it's about 30 centimeters or about a foot in diameter. And this is what we placed onto the surface of the asteroid. It's at the end of the robotic arm, and the high-purity nitrogen gas feeds in here through a couple tubes, and then it actually comes out through this inner annulus and pushes everything up into the collection chamber. After the event, when the gas bottle gets fired, you can see that particles are flying all over the place. We really did kind of make a mess on the surface of this asteroid, but it's a good mess. It's the kind of mess we were hoping for. Lots of material has been mobilized, giving us additional confidence that we actually pushed material up into the sampler head. And just a little bit of the timeline here. We made contact. About 1 second went by. The gas bottle fired. The gas was blown down for about 5 seconds, which is as much time as we were hoping to get to collect that material. So the system seems to have performed nominally. The surface of Bennu behaved very well. And so everything that we can see from these initial images indicates sampling success.
Thank you, Tim.
OREX has descended below the 5 meter.
Hazard map, just go for Charles. Expected in 50 seconds. Going in.
There we go.
Okay.
Now, the samples that we just saw being collected are expected to be delivered to Earth in September of 2023, according to NASA scientists. They have said that the precious materials from Bennu's surface could reveal intriguing insights into how the solar system came to be. Asteroids are pristine collections of the ancient ingredients that form the solar system about 4.5 billion years ago. So studying the chemical properties of space rocks could unlock secrets about planets and the origin of life on Earth. The OSIRIS-REx mission is NASA's first to collect samples from an asteroid, but it was not the first ever. That distinction belongs to Japan's Hayabusa mission, which delivered to Earth a few micrograms of material from the asteroid Itokawa in 2010. A second mission, named Hayabusa 2, very clever nomenclature, collected a small sample from the asteroid Ryugu in February of 2019. The spacecraft is slated to return to Earth in December with the sample on board. Yuichi Sudata, project manager for the Hayabusa 2 mission at the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, expressed his support for the OSIRIS-REx mission, tweeting Tuesday, tomorrow a new door opens for solar system exploration. The OSIRIS-REx team should be able to achieve great results with the right decisions and exquisite control. Keep safe and Godspeed. As a near-Earth asteroid, Bennu could also help researchers understand more about space rocks that pose a threat to the planet, as well as how these celestial bodies could be mined for viable resources in the future. The OSIRIS-REx spacecraft, short for Origins, Spectral Interpretation, Resource Identification, Security Regolith Explorer, has been orbiting Bennu from an altitude of approximately 2,500 feet, but spent several hours Tuesday descending towards the asteroid's surface. The spacecraft is equipped with an 11-foot long robotic arm, which we just saw in action, that reached down and grabbed samples from the space rock. Shortly after 6 p.m. EDT, the spacecraft's arm touched down at a landing site dubbed Nightingale that NASA said is roughly the size of a few parking spaces. The entire maneuver, which NASA likened to a high five with Bennu, took about 4.5 hours. The spacecraft was in contact with the asteroid for fewer than 16 seconds, and the band-sized probe was designed to gather at least 2 ounces of rubble from the surface. After the touch-and-go operation, OSIRIS-REx fired its thrusters to safely back away from Bennu. The $800 million OSIRIS-REx mission launched in September 2016, and the spacecraft arrived at Bennu roughly 2 years later. The probe has been mapping the asteroid's surface, studying its composition, and beaming back photos of the space rock, which is about as tall as the Empire State Building, according to NASA. So this is one of the larger asteroids. You know, people think of asteroids like they show in Star Wars, but some of them are huge. Some of them, but the vast majority of them are quite small. Bennu is located more than 200 million miles away from the Earth, but has an orbit that can swing it to within 4.6 million miles of the planet. As such, Bennu and other near-Earth asteroids are classified as potentially hazardous objects. NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office has calculated there is a 1 in 2,700 chance of Bennu hitting Earth sometime between the years 2175 and 2199. So I'm safe. Tate, you might have to worry. Who knows?
We'll see.
Now, as a side note, it is estimated that the value of some of these asteroids, not necessarily this one, is around $2 quadrillion. Now, if NASA made this a mission to bring back just one of those asteroids for its rare earths, we could eliminate the national debt in its entirety and have trillions of dollars left over. Now, how do I know this is a lot of money? Even Republicans have not thought of being quadrillionaires. So guys, what do you think? Are we going to be mining asteroids here soon?
I think we should.
Yeah.
But not soon. It's not going to happen soon. How much was that? $800 million for a couple ounces?
Right. So 800 million for this mission. But of course, the mission that would simply be to look for asteroids that are worth a lot of money. Yeah, so this wouldn't be the route by which you'd have to capture one and bring it back. So that technology we don't have yet, to go in and physically capture an asteroid, bring it back, especially one this size, the size of the Empire State Building.
What was the name of that movie in 1999 that had Ben Affleck and they had to go save the Earth from an asteroid? I'm sorry? Yeah, what was the name of that movie? Where they actually landed on the asteroid and they put vehicles on it and drove around the asteroid as if, they wouldn't be tossed, and all sorts of other stuff, drilled into it, put a nuclear bomb, and Willis stayed behind heroically.
Yeah. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, I know the movie. I just don't recall the name of it. But
Aerosmith had a song, "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing," whatever that. I hated that song. I was in radio and that played every 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, there's obviously going to be a point in time to where we're probably going to need to mine, outside of Earth, and
there's
become feasible.
Sally, who was on with us last week, actually made a good point, because I had posted that on our Facebook page. And she said that the mining of rare earths oftentimes leaves a lot of toxic waste around where they have to carry out the mining. So if we could eliminate that aspect of it by literally just bringing an asteroid down that is, say, 50% comprised, or 30%, or what have you, comprised of some of these rare earths, that would be huge. You wouldn't have to create all of that pollution from mining these rare earths.
How do we know which asteroids have a lot of rare earths, or do most asteroids?
No, so it's my understanding that most asteroids don't have rare earths, but those that do have huge deposits of them. So if you think about how the solar system came into existence, it was the result of a supernova explosion, followed by recoalescing of various elements back to planets and moons, etc. You're going to have these huge chunks of these rare earths that happen to coalesce back together, forming these asteroids. And so by using the spectrometer components of probes like these, that's how they can detect what asteroids do or don't have the rare earths. Oh, here, we lost you, Tate. We lost you, Tate.
Lost your sound. Quick fix.
There we go. All right. You can hear me now. From my understanding, China has the majority of mining on rare earths on Earth. Is that correct?
That's right.
So you would think that Trump would be all over this. Be like, we could quit our dependence on China. We could just go out in space and find a bunch of asteroids and bring them in.
Maybe that's what the Space Force is for.
Maybe he might be just a little busy with other things right now.
Space Force. Make them useful.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, you do have to wonder, though. I know, for example, that Elon Musk is very interested in trying to mine asteroids.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's been put forward as a mission for governments to do yet, I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, there's going to be but again, there's going to be a point to where these major companies, are going to start searching elsewhere, and it's going to become more feasible to go out and search and find and bring back those
And
type of asteroids.
if you want my opinion on how this best could be done, I would plan on trying to, shall we say, crash the asteroid on the moon.
Mhm.
Because since the moon has no atmosphere, it won't burn up. It'll just
Right.
bang, crash on the surface, and then you do your mining, from a moon base facility, and then send the rare earths back. And you're saying, oh man, that's going to cost a lot of money. Well, you have to remember that $2 quadrillion is a 1 with 15 zeros.
Right.
So
The profit margin would be pretty
So
good.
I would love to be getting 1% interest on $2 quadrillion.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if there's any thought, because we do pass through the asteroid belt quite regularly. So I wonder if there's any thought of, looking at within the asteroid belt, if there's any potential for, since we do pass through it, and then being there to catch them or whatever.
Well, remember, we don't. The Earth doesn't pass through the asteroid belt. It's only the occasional asteroid that has a highly elliptical orbit that we would pass by.
But I guess I was thinking that we when we orbit, we pass through some comet trails.
Right. Now that's of course different
That's
from
different,
passing through the asteroid belt.
Yeah, that's what I was
That's what we call meteorites. The
Right,
depth
right.
left behind by comets.
That's right.
So remember, the asteroid belt is located between Mars and Jupiter. So
Right.
That's where it's located.
Well, I wonder if that's, because Elon is looking at a mission to Mars. I mean, they're looking at that. So I wonder if that's part of that plan. If he gets established on Mars, you could access them those asteroids.
Was it you, Brad, who posted on Facebook the other day about the RNC's mission statement about what Trump is promising? And I'm not saying this is a joke, although I thought it was at first when I first saw it. They had on their site, instead of anything about COVID or anything like that, he promises missions to Mars, and it was all about going to space stuff. I don't know. That wasn't you that posted that? I wish it would have.
No, it wasn't me, but that's actually something that I would have liked to see him focus on, as opposed to some of this other crap. But yeah, we'd actually get some good out of that. Well, all right. I think we'll go ahead and go to our first break. So we'll be right back with more Sounds Reasonable.
Everything that brought me alive. But we're all like monsters, playing with the monsters. They brought me alive, but got no alibi. It's a lover's fight without an alibi. You took my innocence.
Sorry about that.
All right. And we're back with more Sounds Reasonable on October 25th, 2020. Now, as we are all aware, debate 2 between President Trump and Vice President Biden took place this past Thursday. Now, much like we did on SR after the first debate, we're going to have a roundtable discussion primarily fact-checking on the debate results. So I'm going to go ahead and start with what remains front and center on everyone's mind, and that's COVID-19. So this was one of Trump's very first statements concerning it. So Trump on the toll of COVID-19 in the US. So as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. Well, no, that's that's not true. The fact, again, this was his first line and it is false. The US death toll from the pandemic was not expected to be that high. Such an extreme projection was merely a baseline if nothing at all were done to fight the pandemic. Of course, doing nothing was never an option, and public health authorities did not expect over 2 million deaths. So why do you think Trump would cite such a statistic as that?
He's a drama queen. That's why. It's misleading and it takes everything out of context. It makes himself look like he did more. That's the end of story on that one.
Right. I agree with that, Tate. I think that's exactly the analysis or the conclusion to come to. He's simply trying to make it seem like what they have done, which has been next to nothing, makes that 230,000 deaths seem like, hey, we did great. We only got 10% of what was projected.
Yeah, and it's again the higher the number, the better it makes it look for what they haven't done.
Right, exactly. So that that aspect, of course, and then while this wasn't directly in the debate, I kind of feel obligated to bring it up. Again, his disparaging of Fauci and other scientists concerning the COVID outbreak, and yet in the same breath he clamors about needing a vaccine. Well, who does he think's working on the vaccine? The Keebler elves? I mean,
they make great cookies.
I mean, it's scientists, for crying out loud, who are working on the vaccine, and you can't stop talking enough about that, right? So that's something that came up a little bit, but it wasn't directly addressed. But again, that doing that only causes problems. And we already have to provide security for Fauci and his family because of Trump's rhetoric.
And because of this rhetoric, he has turned a great many people against even taking a vaccine.
Yes.
Because he has disavowed the scientists and called them idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Now people don't trust it. And on the other hand, there are people who do trust vaccines, but aren't going to trust anything that comes from Trump because he lies so much.
Exactly.
And he's just feeding into the pandemic. On Face the Nation this morning, I don't remember who it was, but he spokesperson for Trump's administration, went on and pretty much said, we've given up trying to contain this. Flat out said it. Says we're going to put our hopes in a vaccine now. That's paraphrasing, but it's quite close to what he actually said. They're giving up on trying to contain it. We're done.
And the problem too with the hopes on the vaccine is that actually 2 of those 4 have stopped, right? So it's only Moderna and Pfizer that are still actively working on the vaccine, because the other 2 had to pause because of some health concerns that came up out of that.
I think one of them was really severe, wasn't it?
Yeah, they just said that somebody got really sick. I can't remember if it was the Johnson or who was the 4th one there.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, the fact that happened and they stopped should be a vote of confidence to the public. They should be seeing that as something that, hey, this something that doesn't work or something that is going to make us ill is not going to be used just so we have something. that the responsibility is still being taken by these companies that are developing the vaccines to make sure that first of all it's safe, and second of all that it's effective.
And then even Moderna and Pfizer are, I think, well, Moderna for sure, and I think Pfizer too, are saying that it's not, if they're going to fast track for those that are most vulnerable, it's still not going to be until maybe March, right? Or maybe the spring.
Which brings up another good point about the debate, which is relatable to this. When Trump said the Army is going to distribute it quickly. I don't know if you remember a couple of weeks ago when I was on here, and I kind of touched upon that after that debate, where the Army, he said that in the first debate, and the Army went, what? We don't know what you're talking about. We're only here in case of emergency or last. And they even released a statement saying that the private companies, the public, can take care of this themselves. So I don't know if anything has changed since then or not, but I doubt it.
No, I can't imagine that the Army wants that job of trying to distribute the vaccine. First of all, your everyday, you shouldn't say common, but your everyday foot soldier is not going to be qualified to do that.
Right.
Certainly there are people in the Army that are, but there aren't near as many of those individuals that could possibly carry out a project like that. So there's no way.
Well, also what it does is it kind of undermines your healthcare system. You don't think the healthcare system can provide this resource to get it out.
And if that happens, I don't know, Trump promised free for everybody. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I would love to see that. But if it becomes a pay for the vaccine situation, how's the Army handled that? How do they deal with the insurance companies? Who takes the money? And, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, this vaccine has to be free distribution. I mean, I was trying to, I wish I knew for sure, but I think that when I received the polio vaccines, they were free. I mean, we would just go to a gymnasium and stand in line, and then either get a shot or take a little drop of vaccine on a sugar cube. I don't think there was any payment that was required for the polio vaccine.
That's one of the things I vaguely remember from my childhood, but I remember, I'm sure we were in the National Guard Armory in Kearney, and we were in line, and they got the little paper cup with a sugar cube on it.
Right.
Polio vaccine.
Yeah.
I had to be really young. I just don't know. Were
smallpox free too? You guys go back that far?
We got that in school. They took the little bifurcated needle. Yeah. It was called, and they dipped it in the vaccine, and then etch a little spot on your arm, and some people would have a mild reaction to it. They get a pretty good scab where that had been done, but I never had a reaction like that, and most people didn't.
That's one I don't remember. I must have blocked that out. I did not like needles. I did not like needles, so I don't remember getting that one. If I have it, I got the scar, but I repressed that memory. Well, the one other thing I wanted to bring up before we move away from the numbers here is Biden did kind of out of context a little bit when he talked about there being another 200 and whatever thousand deaths by the end of the year, because I think he was going off that figure that would be projected a total of 400,000 in the U.S. And I know there was
that did seem high.
A study that was done that came out in JAMA. I think that was part of that they had predicted the possibility of 400,000 total for the year, but
Well, we've got what, about 68 days left to the year,
Yeah,
and at 1,000 people a day, that's 68,000. I don't want to say only because
right.
obviously
But
that's a
still,
lot of people
yeah.
to die.
Yeah.
That'd be Grand Island and Kearney put together, so they'd be wiped out if that happened. But yeah,
So they were
it'll
projecting about
be
92,000.
It'll be to 300,000, but it will
Right.
not be to 400,000.
No, that's they're kind of projecting by the end of December, probably around that 315,000 at the rate we're going.
Yeah, that's about where I would expect it as well. Yeah, so Biden was incorrect on that. So yeah, good point, Tim. Well, what else, guys? What topics did you
Yeah.
guys want to
First,
bring up?
and maybe Tate, I don't know what you're going to talk about, but I was just going to bring up the one that just about fell out of my computer chair when when Trump said that he was had done the most of any president except for Abraham Lincoln for the blacks. And then when Biden kept referring to him as Abraham Lincoln. But then the other statement where he said he was the least racist person in the whole room. The least racist person in the whole room. And,
I say this all the time to people who call him racist, and I don't think he's exactly racist. I think he's just taking advantage of the situation and playing people against people. I don't think he has feelings one way or the other, because I think he's a psychopath. I think he lacks emotions to that level. I really do.
I don't know. I kind of disagree because of how easy he uses terms that are racist terms. Not covertly racist, by what he calls people, be it retarded, be it that all Mexicans are rapists and drug dealers, and how he refers to non-whites and even some whites. Just I don't know. It's and maybe it's.
Well, I mean, when you refer to the majority of African nations as S-hole countries, and you call you've already mentioned the names he's called people of Mexican origin, and so and then his family background is interesting also. His father was a member of the KKK, and his father's cook, one of his father's cooks, was one of Hitler's former cooks.
What?
Really?
What?
I'm not joking.
Really?
Look it up.
Oh.
Brutal.
Oh. Well, yeah, and of course but as he has mentioned to us, there are good people on both sides.
Right.
Good
Very,
people on both
very
sides.
fine people.
Very fine, not just good, yeah, very fine.
But as you said, Tim, he rattles them off so easily, but he does it to everybody, not just race situations.
Yeah,
like
he's a blatant.
Scientists are idiots. He's just a master of bringing people down. I mean, I think he's done it his entire life in order to make, one, himself feel good, and two, to put people on a lower level than himself so he has a stronger position when he's talking to them. Again, and you may be right, he may be racist. I just, from being around people like that who I've seen take advantage of others and work people against each other, to me, it just looks like it's all... it's a piece on a board for him to play with, the dog whistling.
Right. And I
Yeah,
could be.
you very well may be right about that, Kate. Again, the guy is just totally ignorant of social grace. They're just he just has no ability for it, or at least he's either willfully that way or just ignorant that way.
He doesn't have pets.
It might be a combination.
He doesn't have pets. And somebody who worked with him on The Apprentice, I was reading about this, said he never listened to music. and he didn't find any joy in music and didn't understand how other people did. He wouldn't listen to anything, and just this total baseline of flatlineness with his emotional level, just to me makes me think can't trust him on anything except for himself.
Well,
Yeah,
and he's not doing anything unless it's going to benefit him too.
exactly.
So, that's
Traits of a psychopath.
yeah. So,
Yeah, well,
He just hasn't murdered anybody that we know about yet. That's
he's-
the only way I can
he
feel.
could.
yeah, he could, and nobody would say anything.
Yeah.
And his followers would still love him. And depending on who he shot, he'd probably be right.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Short of murdering Sean Hannity, I suppose he's safe. I don't know.
Even
Yeah.
then.
Well, Tate, what did you have?
Well, what I found interesting, because I hadn't heard about the Russian mayor paying Biden the $3.5 million until a couple of weeks ago. That was new to me. And then the releasing of the information about the private China bank account for Trump kind of interested me about this debate because they brought it up and they kind of snipped at each other about it. I mean, it pretty much came to at one point a form of who could call out who on dirty dealings in other countries. At both debates, Trump kept hammering on Biden about getting that $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow. So I did a little research into this. This claim stems from a partisan report in the Senate. A portion concerning money from Russia, from a Russian billionaire, the woman who used to be married to the mayor, a woman of ill repute, we'll put it lightly. She paid Rosemont Seneca Thornton LLC that $3.5 million for a consulting fee. That's what it says on the paperwork. That in itself, the company, Rosemont Seneca Thornton LLC, is a consortium between two companies, one of which is Rosemont Seneca Partners. Now, that's the company that Hunter Biden co-founded. And that's where they're trying to make this, I would say, really loose connection between the $3.5 million and then Biden's family getting the whole thing. So what you have here is a consortium comprised of multiple companies, each one of these companies with many people with multiple interests in them, receiving this, if you look at the big picture, paltry amount of $3.5 million. And there was zero proof in this Senate report showing that Hunter or Joe personally profited from this $3.5 million. Trump also kept claiming that the Bidens were taking money from China at this last debate. The strongest connection that the report made on this is that the Thornton Group's website says it has offices in Beijing. The Thornton Group, not the one that Hunter Biden co-founded. It's the completely other group. And they try to make a connection off of that. The report also mentions that the website for the Thornton Group shows pictures of Hunter at events in China. Hey,
Ooh.
some pictures. Seriously, there's also mention of another few $1 million being paid to the consortium over a few multiple payments, classified as loans. But it wasn't to the firm itself. The money went to a technology startup company in New York, Buffalo, if I remember right, that made tablets. And that company eventually went broke. Now, I can already see wheels turning in conspiracy theorists' heads saying, oh, it didn't go broke. They just gave that money to the Bidens and then they shut down the company. I don't know. But that's all the report said on all that money that he just keeps harping on Biden about. It had 3 paragraphs about the 3.5, and then one more paragraph was all about this other money that went out to this technology group. Now, to be fair, I looked at what Biden said about Trump, about the recently revealed bank account that he has or had in China. And I say has or had because Trump claimed that the account has been shut down and that everybody knew about the account. Well, the account was held by Trump International Hotels Management, Alan Garten, who's a lawyer for the Trump Organization, told the New York Times that the company opened an office in China to explore the possibility of hotel deals in Asia. And Trump had said as much. Although the lawyer went on to say that the office hasn't been active since 2015, but here's the catch, the bank account is still open. Even though Trump denied it in the debate. And not everybody knew about it, like he said either. It was just recently disclosed that he had that account. Also during the debate, Trump also said, I don't take money from China. I don't do it. Contradicting that, Forbes estimates that Trump's businesses have received nearly $5.5 million from China from a lease agreement alone involving a state-owned bank that's in Trump Tower. Just that, $5.5 million. And he can't deny knowledge of that because he gave a tour of the place to Forbes back in 2015. He said, quote, "I'll show you the industrial bank of China," and showed him, they're the greatest tenants ever. He said that and showed him the bank. That lease deal was re-upped last year, so he's still making money off of that. So that part of the debate, I really wanted to focus on because it just seems like that took a good 10 minutes of snipping back and forth. And before I sign off on this, one other thing from the debate that bothers me, and I just have to get this out of my system if you'll allow me, because it's been persistent and a rally cry for Trumpers everywhere, is the claim that Trump closed all travel from China when COVID hit. And I probably should have brought this up when you were talking about COVID. He did not. He didn't close all travel. What happened was a proclamation put into motion on February 2nd that restricted travel from China, but the proclamation lists 11 different restrictions, 11 of them, ranging from U.S. citizens returning from China to anyone who might have any kind of information that might help U.S. law enforcement. Some of those exceptions, if you look at them, could be deemed somewhat vague when you define the application of them. As many as 20 to 30,000 people flew into the United States directly from China. And then he tried to, and then, I'm sorry, and then he made the remarks about China deliberately releasing COVID and trying to give those remarks weight by saying that, yeah, it didn't spread out of Wuhan and other parts of China. It did. It just wasn't nearly as bad because China, being as authoritarian as they are, shut things down immediately and didn't let anybody travel anywhere. And that I just had to get out of my system.
Yeah, we had done a sounds reasonable story where we showed conclusively through genetic tracing that the actual source for the virus on the East Coast was Europe. It did not come from China; it came from Europe. So even if some cases did come from China, despite quote unquote Trump's best efforts, he should have been thinking the other way. He should have been thinking from Europe because the East Coast cases, the ones that devastated New York, for example, those were of European origin. But of course, those aren't S-hole countries there.
and to stay with the China theme a little bit, one of the things that I looked at was when Trump said, China is paying billions of dollars in tariff revenue, and then that's going to the farmers, 28 billion to our farmers. So you said that first of all, they're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave 28 billion to our farmers. Then Biden interrupts and says taxpayer money. It didn't come from China. And then Trump said, the taxpayers are called China. China paid 28 billion, and what they did to pay it, Joe. They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And who got our money? Our farmers. And so, of course, that's false. That about paying the tariff money is false.
Okay. People in general don't understand how tariffs work. Because of the way they pay taxes, they think, a check went out to the U.S. government because we put a tariff on their goods. No, that's not what happened. Tariff simply means that the cost of those goods coming in now went up.
Right.
And so anything that we happen to buy that has a tariff on it now, its price went up. So who pays it? The U.S. consumer pays it.
That's amazing. How many people think that somehow a tariff means that we charge China more, or anybody that we tariff? It's nothing more than a measure to keep people from buying their goods from our end.
That's right.
Well, and doesn't China actually profit from that? I mean, they're making more on those goods that they do sell, that Americans do buy. Or some of that.
I
Don't
don't.
know
no, I
about
guess
that.
no, that's not, yeah, no.
I'd
'Cause,
have to think about that, I guess, or talk to somebody. But
Well, I don't think
yeah,
they get any
importers.
receipt of the extra profit, if you will. Let's say you have a widget coming from China and they originally sold it at $25 and it gets through to the US at $25 and the usual markup is to $35. And a tariff adds $10 to it, which means that the company buying it has to pay $10 more in order to buy it. So they mark it up another $10.
Yeah.
Right.
That extra $10, I don't believe it goes to China.
No,
Does it?
no, but you're right. And I found here where it said this study after study has found that Americans are bearing the cost of Trump's tariffs on imported Chinese products, and American importers, not Chinese exporters, make the actual tariff payments to the U.S. government.
Yeah.
So the Americans that are buying the Chinese goods, they're bailing out the farmers.
It's more or less a tax.
Yeah, like a value added tax, but it's a tariff tax.
Right, a value added tax. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And of course, that gets passed on to the consumer, and so the consumer's paying. Consumers paying for it.
Yeah, when you think about it, the farmers who got the bailout that was paid for by the tariffs are probably paying the extra cost for the goods for their homes. They're paying themselves.
Yeah, I mean it's a zero-sum game. No one has ever won in a tariff war, and the worst part of it was Hoover. President Hoover was a big fan of tariffs, and of course, ultimately, that drove us into the Depression. So the tariffs on top of COVID is just wreaking havoc on our economy. And I'm surprised Biden didn't make some points out of that. He obviously brought up the economy, but he should have brought up what some of the specific policies have done.
It did say that because one of the things Biden said was that Trump caused the trade deficit with China to go up, and then Biden said Trump has caused trade deficit in China to go up. Quote, he has caused the deficit with China to go up, not down, with China up, not down. And then I guess that is false, though. The goods and services trade deficit with China grew during the first 2 years of Trump's presidency, but then fell to $308 billion in 2019, the lowest since 2013, according to data from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. So it was $310 billion at the end of 2016, just before Trump was elected. So it went down a couple billion, a little bit.
One other item, and then I suppose we'll have to take our next break. But I really want to bring this up. Is the immigration issue. The caging of children. Trump tried to pass that on to Biden early by saying, well, who built the cages the kids are in? And he was right in that Obama actually put together those facilities, but they were certainly empty, and now they're full. And so, that isn't going to fly. And you want to talk about something that will drive your suburban women to vote against Trump. It's seeing children in cages. That'll do it. No one that I know of anyway, I hope I don't know anyone anyway, thinks that that's a good idea, that's a wonderful way to try to control immigration, is separation of children from their parents.
And what it looks like is that with the Obama administration, the only ones that were separated were children that were separated were those that they couldn't identify that was actually their parent. So maybe coming over unaccompanied or coming over with somebody else, and also potential sex trafficking. So
Right.
there was never anyone, just a blanket separation you know, of children from parents. The only time they were separated is if they couldn't verify that that was their parent or guardian, and so they were, again, that's when they were taken away, because they were worried that it was something else, you know, sex trafficking or whatever. So not like the zero tolerance.
I thought the cages were for the coyotes.
We keep talking about coyotes.
Yes, coyotes. The rabbit coyotes.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm glad the debates are over, although we've had fun doing this, but I'm glad the debates are over and we've got 9 days to get through, and hopefully 45 gets 46th or 64th, or what do they call it?
Is it
When
86?
somebody takes the big dive.
86.
86th. I can't remember which number it is. But anyway, sorry.
Oh, I was just say real quick at the end. Interesting though, the number of early voters, like 54 million or so, I think they're saying now.
Yeah, it'll be well over 60 million before a week from Tuesday. Yeah. So
What are lines like in Kearney?
have not seen any. I went and dropped off my ballot this past week. I forget exactly what day, but anyway, it's done. And one other guy was dropping his off when I was dropping mine off. So no lines, and that's kind of how I would expect it here in Kearney. I wouldn't expect lines.
That's what I saw too.
Not till election day.
When I dropped mine off at the Sarpy County election office, and that was, I'm trying to think, it was on a weekend, but anyway, there was like 2 or 3 other cars right there dropping off in the box. So.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and take our last break and be back with the crazy story of the week.
I'm feeling so hello. Don't you know? Don't you know? I'm living in shadow. Don't you know? Don't you know? I fell for fools gold. I fell for fools gold. What did I know? What did I know? I fell for fools gold. I fell for fools gold. What did I know? What did I know? You were fool's gold.
I just realized I forgot to share that. Okay, sorry.
I heard the music.
As long as you heard the music, I knew something was wrong because I wasn't seeing what I normally see.
It's in moments like those, Tim, you need to improvise. And
Yes, we just let it go.
put on a show.
You just let it go. Okay. I don't hear you, Brad.
I don't hear Brad.
Wait, did you?
Uh-oh.
No. I don't know why.
It's like you're off in the background.
I can just barely hear. No. May have to go to settings. I don't know if you can get back to your settings. And
Is he on a webcam or a laptop?
I think he's on a cam.
If you're on a cam that you plug in USB, might try unplugging it and plugging it back in. I hear some electronic static.
There we go.
Wow, guys.
Now
Hear
we-
you. No video this time.
Oh, boy. What happened? Tim, do you have the script?
I do have the script.
Go ahead and read the crazy story. Go ahead and do it.
All right, I got it. Okay, so when I was a counselor, and this would be, I'm speaking for Dr. Brad. When I was a counselor at Camp Quest, which is a secular camp for kids ages 8 through 16, we had as one of our exercises, invent your own religion. One of our campers came up with Taoism. Now, Taoism only had 2 rules for its followers, as opposed to 10, for example. Rule 1, everyone must own a cow. And rule 2, everyone must milk their cow at 2 a.m. on Wednesdays. And somehow Taoism just has not caught on as a popular religion, or does Taoism still have a chance? The following story is from Right Wing Watch, authored by Kyle Mantilla on October 20th of this year, and is titled Amedia Warns that if Christians don't vote, people will still will start having sex with cows. So if Christians don't vote, people start having sex with cows. And Amedia, the tsunami stopping and anti-reviving pastor who founded the POTUS Shield prayer effort to wage spiritual warfare on behalf of President Donald Trump, released a video last Friday in which he claimed that God told him that he was going to shift the polls in key races. We see you now, Dr. Brad.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, so I'll take over. Thanks, Tim.
Right. You bet.
So you were at Amedia, the tsunami stopping. Is that where you were?
Right.
Okay, yeah. So Amedia, the tsunami stopping and ant reviving pastor. So he's actually got a YouTube showing him reviving an ant that he killed. Who founded the POTUS Shield prayer effort to wage spiritual warfare on behalf of President Donald Trump, released a video last Friday in which he claimed that God told him that he is going to shift the polls in key races heading into the election so that Republican candidates gain 5 points while Democratic candidates lose 5 points. And to drive home the point of just how important it is for Christians to vote, Amedia warned that failure to do so would result in America where, quote unquote, animalism is accepted and somebody can marry a cow and have perverse sex with them. I believe it with all my heart, Amedia said. I declare it according to the word of God. I believe it by what he's already done and what he's going to do. God has heard the prayer of repentance from the nation and God's people. He told us the other night while we were praying 5 plus 5. Well, that's 10. That's the number of the kingdom. And he said, if we just add 5 percentage points to every state, to every senator, and to the president, and take away 5 from the opposition, from those who are not pro-life, who are not lined up with the kingdom of God, that's 10. 10 is the fullness of God. 5 plus 5. We declared it over Lindsey Graham, or excuse me, we declared it over Lindsey Graham that they were saying was tilting even and even, he continued. The very next day, a poll came out and said he had moved up 6% overnight. 6% had happened. Well, I believe it's going to 10. We need to pray it for the president. This is about morality, he said. This is about same-sex marriage not being approved and blessed in this country. This is not about us changing genders into 5 and 6 different meanings now. Even sexual preference has all of a sudden been changed in the dictionary to where it's offensive. How far do they want us to go? Wait until animalism becomes acceptable and somebody can marry a cow and have perverse sex with them. You think I'm laughing? That's what's going to come. So, guys, I think cowism has a chance.
I'm looking forward to the the Book of Bessie in the Moo Testament.
Yes.
Yes, we'll have to add a new book, the Book of Bessie.
And yay, she dipped her head down lower to grab the teats and squeeze the milk. Jesus God.
But well, isn't it already here though? Hindus, right? Don't they hold cows as sacred?
Hindus do indeed do that.
Yes.
Doubtful they have sex with them though.
Well,
Yes.
probably a violation, but you never know.
It's a gateway thing. First, you start, move from here to here with the cows.
That's right. I suppose he's against sacred cows too.
No, they like lambs, sheep and lambs.
Oh man. Well, I had to go with that one for the crazy story this week. This is too good. Oh wow.
They're coming out of the woodwork.
Yep, and we've got 9 more days of this stuff to go. So.
It'll be interesting afterwards what comes up too, I suppose.
It will. I'm sure they'll have some explanation. Of course, Pat Robertson also came out saying that no doubt about it, Trump is being reelected and that will signal the end times. And I said, well, I agree, Pat, but just not the biblical kind. All right. Well, I think this will wrap us up for this week. So if you've enjoyed our program, please pass the word to your friends and associates, believers and non-believers alike. Again, just a reminder that you are welcome to post questions and comments on our Facebook page. Remember, there is a big difference between having good reasons for what one accepts to be true and having bad ones. Incidentally, this is the only distinction one needs to become a strict atheist. This has been Dr. Brad for Tate and Tim saying so long.
Goodbye.